What if I told you there's a single vitamin deficiency that quietly steals away your muscles, and correcting it can literally flip your body from wasting to rebuilding overnight? Studies show that more than 80% of seniors are missing this nutrient, and the result is something most people dismiss as just aging and weak legs, shrinking arms, and that frightening loss of independence. But here's the shocking part. When researchers restored this one vitamin in older adults, their muscle strength jumped by nearly 20% in just a few months. I'm Japan's oldest practicing physician at 104 years old, and I've dedicated my life to unlocking the secrets of longevity so you too can live with health, purpose, and vitality. And today I'm going to reveal the forgotten vitamin that melts away sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, faster than most drugs or supplements ever could. Sarcopenia. It's a word most people never hear until it's too late, but the reality is, after the age of 30, our bodies slowly begin losing muscle mass every single year. By 60, the rate doubles, and by the time someone reaches their 80s, up to half of their muscle strength is already gone. And here's the cruel twist. It doesn't just steal strength, it robs balance, energy, and independence. You've seen it happen to friends or family. Once strong, steady legs suddenly become wobbly, and simple daily tasks feel like climbing a mountain. For decades, doctors assumed this decline was inevitable, that muscles just wear out with age. But recent studies have revealed something shocking. Sarcopenia is not simply about aging, it's about nutrient signaling. Your muscles are waiting for instructions. They can either break down or build up, and the deciding factor often comes down to one overlooked vitamin. That vitamin is vitamin D, the forgotten switch for muscle health. Why forgotten? Because when most people think about vitamin D, they think about bones, osteoporosis, or maybe a little sunlight exposure. Hardly anyone connects it to muscle mass. Yet researchers at Tufts University discovered that seniors with low vitamin D levels had double the risk of muscle weakness compared to those with healthy levels. Double. And it gets even more interesting. In clinical trials, older adults who corrected their vitamin D deficiency didn't just stop losing muscle, they started gaining it back. In one study, grip strength and leg power improved by nearly 20% in just 12 weeks. That's not a slow, years-long process. That's like turning on a switch your body forgot it had. Think of vitamin D as the ignition key to your muscles. Without it, your body struggles to absorb and use calcium, which is essential for muscle contraction. Without it, protein synthesis and the process that rebuilds and repairs muscle fibers gets jammed. It's like trying to build a house without nails. You might have all the lumber, all the bricks, all the effort, but nothing holds together. Once vitamin D levels rise, the nails appear, and suddenly every piece of protein you eat, every egg, every scoop of yogurt, every lentil can finally be locked into place as muscle. Here's why this matters right now. Nearly 80% of seniors are deficient in vitamin D, not mildly low, deficient. Modern life keeps us indoors. Sunscreen blocks the natural production in our skin, and aging itself reduces the body's ability to convert sunlight into active vitamin D. Add to that weaker digestion, and it's no surprise this deficiency has become a silent epidemic. What looks like normal aging, weakness, fatigue, unsteady balance, is often nothing more than the absence of this one nutrient. But the story gets even better. Vitamin D doesn't just prevent muscle loss, it actively melts away sarcopenia by improving something scientists call anabolic sensitivity. In plain terms, it makes your muscles more responsive to protein. That means the same meal that would normally just fill your belly suddenly starts feeding your muscles again. One study from the University of Birmingham showed that older adults with adequate vitamin D were able to build muscle from protein in ways nearly identical to people decades younger. Imagine that, eating the same foods, but with vitamin D on board, your body reacts like you've turned back the clock 30 years. This is why some seniors feel an almost overnight change when they restore vitamin D. They wake up with less stiffness, their legs feel steadier, and even climbing stairs becomes smoother. It's not magic, it's biology. Your muscles finally receiving the signal to rebuild. Now that you understand why vitamin D is the forgotten trigger behind sarcopenia, the real question is, how do you get enough of it back into your system? The answer isn't complicated, but it does require a shift from the way most seniors have been told to eat and live. Let's start with sunlight, nature's original source of vitamin D. When ultraviolet rays hit your skin, they trigger a chain reaction that produces vitamin D3, the active form your body actually uses. But here's the catch. By the time you reach your 70s, your skin produces about 75% less vitamin D from the same amount of sunlight compared to when you were 20. That means a quick walk outside that once gave your body a boost now barely moves the needle. And if you live in northern climates or spend most of your time indoors, deficiency is almost guaranteed. This is why relying on sunlight alone is no longer enough. Food must carry the rest of the load, and here's where most seniors get tripped up. Vitamin D is rare in the diet. You won't find it in salads or fruit bowls. It hides in a handful of rich sources, and knowing them can make all the difference. Wild-caught salmon is one of the best. A single serving can deliver nearly 1,000 international units of vitamin D, the same amount many doctors recommend as a daily supplement. Sardines, mackerel and tuna also pack impressive amounts, and they come with omega-3 fatty acids that fight muscle inflammation at the same time. Eggs can help too, but here's an important detail. The vitamin D is in the yolk, not the white. One egg yolk provides around 40 IU. That might not sound like much, but when combined with other foods, it adds up. Fortified dairy like milk and yogurt can give you an extra boost, and some orange juices are now fortified with vitamin D as well. But here's the truth, even with smart food choices, most seniors still fall short. That's why supplementation often becomes necessary, especially after 60. The form you want to look for is vitamin D3, not D2. Research shows D3 is nearly twice as effective at raising and maintaining blood levels. Pair it with a meal that contains fat, olive oil, nuts, avocado, because vitamin D is fat soluble, meaning your body absorbs it best when eaten with healthy fats. And don't forget its partner in crime, magnesium. Without magnesium, vitamin D can't convert into its active form. This is why so many seniors who take supplements still don't feel results. Their bodies are missing the cofactor that makes it work. Foods like spinach, almonds, and pumpkin seeds can cover this gap naturally. What kind of dose is actually effective? In clinical trials, seniors who took between 1,000 and 2,000 IU daily saw the biggest improvements in muscle function. In fact, a 2020 review published in the Journal of Cachexia, Sarcopenia and Muscle concluded that correcting vitamin D deficiency not only improved muscle strength, but also reduced the risk of falls, one of the biggest threats to senior independence. Falls are not random accidents. They're often the final symptom of sarcopenia. Restoring vitamin D doesn't just build muscle, it steadies balance, improves reflexes, and protects your future. The impact can feel dramatic. One of my patients, an 84-year-old gentleman who had struggled with weak legs for years, began a daily routine of fortified Greek yogurt at breakfast, salmon twice a week, and a vitamin D3 supplement with dinner. Within 2 months, he noticed he could stand up from his chair without bracing his arms. 3 months later, his walking pace improved so much his daughter joked she had to hurry to keep up with him again. That's the kind of transformation that happens when you give your muscles back their missing ignition key. And there's a hidden bonus. Vitamin D also improves sleep quality by interacting with serotonin and melatonin pathways. Better sleep means higher natural growth hormone release, which further supports muscle growth and repair overnight. So, when you correct this one deficiency, you're not just building stronger muscles. You're creating a ripple effect that touches energy, mood, sleep, and independence. Now, restoring vitamin D is only step one. The real magic happens when you combine it with the right kind of protein, because vitamin D primes the muscle, but protein provides the bricks and mortar. In the next section, I'll show you how the two work together to reverse sarcopenia faster than either could alone. Now that you know vitamin D is the ignition key that wakes up dormant muscle cells, let's talk about the fuel that keeps the engine running: protein. Without protein, there's nothing for vitamin D to build with, but without vitamin D, all that protein you're eating can slip through your fingers like sand. The magic happens when the two meet. Here's how it works. Inside your muscles are little receptors that act like antennae, listening for signals to start building new tissue. Vitamin D plugs into those receptors, flipping them on, but once the switch is flipped, those receptors demand raw material, amino acids from protein. If they're not available in the bloodstream, the signal fizzles out. But when you combine vitamin D with high-quality protein, the result is like striking a match in a room filled with oxygen. Growth sparks instantly. This isn't theory. Researchers at the University of Birmingham tested this exact idea. They found that older adults with healthy vitamin D levels were able to use dietary protein for muscle growth almost as efficiently as people decades younger. But those who were deficient, their muscles stayed resistant no matter how much protein they consumed. That's why some seniors eat plenty of eggs, chicken, or beans, but still feel weaker every year. Their bodies are starved of vitamin D, the very nutrient that makes protein usable. Let me put it another way. Imagine you're building a house. Protein is the bricks and lumber. Vitamin D is the construction crew. You could have a mountain of supplies stacked in the yard, but without workers to lay them, nothing gets built. Correct the deficiency, and suddenly every bite of protein gets put to work. So, how much protein do you actually need once vitamin D is back online? Studies suggest that older adults need more than the standard guidelines. While the average recommendation is around 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, research from the European Society for Clinical Nutrition shows that seniors aiming for at least 1.2 grams per kilogram preserve more muscle and even gain strength well into their 70s and 80s. That's roughly 80 to 100 grams of protein daily for most older adults, spread across meals. That's not as overwhelming as it sounds. A scoop of whey protein in the morning, a serving of salmon at lunch, a cup of Greek yogurt in the afternoon, and some lentils or chicken at dinner can easily get you there. Now here's where vitamin D makes this intake far more efficient. Protein alone can only do so much if your body isn't sensitive to it. But vitamin D restores what scientists call anabolic sensitivity. In practical terms, it lowers the threshold. Instead of needing 40 grams of protein in one sitting to spark muscle growth, you might only need 20 or 25 when your vitamin D levels are strong. That means smaller, more manageable meals can now have a powerful impact. For seniors with low appetite, this is a game changer. Consider this example. In a Dutch study, seniors who combined vitamin D supplementation with protein-rich dairy gained significantly more lean muscle mass than those who only received protein or vitamin D alone. Their legs became stronger, balance improved, and most importantly, their risk of falls dropped sharply. This shows that when you put the ignition key and the fuel together, the body doesn't just stop wasting away, it begins actively rebuilding. One of my patients, a 79-year-old woman, used to tell me she hated eating meat because it felt heavy. She was constantly fatigued and losing strength. Once we restored her vitamin D levels and introduced smaller protein-packed meals, cottage cheese before bed, Greek yogurt with nuts in the morning, lentil soup with lunch, her body responded almost immediately. Within 6 weeks, she could walk her garden path without needing to hold the railing. Not because she suddenly started exercising more, but because her body was finally using the protein she was already eating. Here's the encouraging truth. Your muscles don't know your age. They don't know the number of birthdays you've had. They only respond to chemistry. Give them vitamin D to unlock their receptors and protein to supply the bricks, and they will respond just as they did decades ago. And there's still one more layer to this story, because while vitamin D and protein are the core duo, adding certain supporting nutrients like calcium, magnesium, and omega-3s can multiply the benefits even further. In the next section, I'll reveal how these allies work behind the scenes to melt away sarcopenia faster than vitamin D and protein alone. So far, we've seen how vitamin D flips the switch and how protein provides the raw material. But every good engine needs more than a spark and fuel. It needs oil, wiring, and cooling systems to run smoothly. For your muscles, those supporting parts come from a handful of often overlooked nutrients: calcium, magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids, and vitamin K2. Let's start with calcium. Everyone thinks of it as the bone mineral, but it's just as critical for muscle. Every time your muscle contracts, whether that's lifting a weight or simply standing up from a chair, calcium floods into the muscle fiber to trigger the action. Without enough calcium, your muscles feel weak, shaky, or even cramp. Here's the catch: vitamin D and calcium are inseparable. Vitamin D tells your intestines to absorb calcium. Without it, most of the calcium you eat gets wasted. This is why studies show that seniors who combine vitamin D with adequate calcium see greater improvements in strength and balance than those who only take vitamin D alone. You don't need to guzzle glasses of milk either. Foods like sardines with soft bones, leafy greens, and Greek yogurt deliver calcium in forms your body can actually use. Then comes magnesium, the quiet workhorse of muscle chemistry. Think of it as the electrician in your muscle cells, wiring up every contraction and repair process. Magnesium is the mineral that activates vitamin D, converting it into its usable form. Without it, your vitamin D supplements won't deliver their full effect. This is why so many seniors remain deficient even after supplementing. Low magnesium equals low results. Foods like pumpkin seeds, almonds, spinach, and even dark chocolate are rich sources. And here's a powerful bonus: magnesium helps muscles relax after they contract, which means fewer nighttime cramps and deeper, more restorative sleep. Omega-3 fatty acids found in fatty fish like salmon and sardines play another vital role. As we age, chronic inflammation acts like rust eating away at muscle tissue. Vitamin D helps slow this process, but omega-3s can reverse it. In fact, research from the University of Washington showed that omega-3 supplementation not only increased muscle mass in seniors, but also made their muscles more sensitive to protein, exactly the effect vitamin D provides. Together, they create a double punch against sarcopenia. Imagine vitamin D as the switch, protein as the bricks, and omega-3s as the oil that keeps everything running smoothly and inflammation-free. And then there's vitamin K2, the unsung hero. While less talked about, K2 directs calcium to the right places, into bones and muscles, instead of letting it build up in arteries. Without K2, supplementing with vitamin D and calcium can actually backfire, increasing the risk of calcification where you don't want it. Natto, a traditional Japanese fermented soybean dish, is the richest natural source, but for most seniors, aged cheeses or a K2 supplement can do the job. Research shows that older adults with higher K2 levels have better muscle function and less stiffness. It's the nutrient that ensures the construction materials get delivered to the right address. Put these allies together and the effect is extraordinary. Vitamin D turns the muscle switch on, protein provides the material, calcium sparks the contractions, magnesium keeps the wiring intact, omega-3s fight off the rust of inflammation, and K2 makes sure everything gets delivered to the right place. One without the others is like a half-finished blueprint. But when they all come together, the muscle machinery hums again, even in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. I've seen this firsthand. One of my patients, a retired schoolteacher in her early 90s, struggled with sarcopenia so severe she needed a walker. We corrected her vitamin D deficiency, but we also layered in these supporting nutrients through simple, everyday foods. Greek yogurt with walnuts in the morning, salmon twice a week, a handful of pumpkin seeds as an afternoon snack. Within months, she moved from a walker to a cane, and eventually could walk confidently across her garden. She told me it felt like her body had remembered something it had forgotten years ago. This is why I tell every senior who walks into my clinic, it's not just about one pill or one supplement, it's about synergy. When nutrients work together, the result isn't just muscle maintenance, and it's muscle revival. And the signs of this revival appear sooner than you think. In the next section, I'll show you the early changes you'll notice once vitamin D and its allies begin melting away sarcopenia, the small victories that signal your body is turning back the clock. when sarcopenia starts to melt away. The changes don't always announce themselves with fanfare. Instead, they arrive quietly in little victories that most seniors dismiss until they step back and realize just how much progress they've made. And these early signs matter. They're proof that your body is responding, that your muscles are waking up again. The very first sign many notice is improved balance. Sarcopenia doesn't just shrink muscles, it disrupts the tiny stabilizer muscles that keep you upright. That's why falls become so common with age. But as vitamin D restores muscle responsiveness, and as protein and calcium feed those fibers, something remarkable happens. Standing from a chair feels steadier. Walking across the living room no longer requires reaching for the furniture, and stairs don't feel like a gamble. Patients often tell me they just feel less wobbly, even before they notice any visible muscle growth. That's your nervous system and your muscles finally communicating clearly again. Another early change is reduced stiffness, especially in the morning. For many seniors, the first steps out of bed feel like walking on wooden legs. But when vitamin D levels rise and magnesium supports proper muscle relaxation, mornings start to feel different. The muscles no longer seize up as tightly overnight, and that bone-deep ache begins to fade. One of my patients described it perfectly. I woke up and realized I didn't have to brace myself before standing. I felt light again. That's a signal of improved overnight muscle repair, something most people don't expect until it happens. Then comes the grip test. Sarcopenia steals strength from the hands as much as from the legs, and weak grip strength is one of the earliest predictors of frailty. When this process reverses, seniors often notice they can open jars again without strain, or hold grocery bags without needing both hands. Studies even use grip dynamometers to measure progress, because grip strength responds so quickly once muscle synthesis switches back on. For many, this is the first visible proof that their efforts are working. Energy is another powerful clue. Sarcopenia isn't just about muscle size, it's about mitochondria, the tiny energy factories inside each muscle cell. When they're sluggish, fatigue sets in after even light activity. But with vitamin D, omega-3s, and magnesium back in play, mitochondria begin to recover. Suddenly, that walk around the block doesn't feel like a marathon, and gardening doesn't leave you winded. The change sneaks up on you until one day you realize, I'm not as tired as I used to be. Clothing can tell the story too. A belt notch that once felt snug begins to loosen. Sleeves that hung limply around the arms now feel just a little fuller. These aren't bodybuilding transformations. They're subtle shifts that mean muscle fibers are thickening, not wasting away, and they bring with them an emotional boost. When your reflection looks steadier, stronger, more alive, it reinforces the belief that change is possible at any age. If you notice any of these signs, steadier balance, easier mornings, stronger hands, more energy, looser clothes, or even just a renewed spark of confidence, it means your body is actively rebuilding. And the best part is, these changes don't take years. For many, the first signs appear within weeks of correcting vitamin D deficiency and layering in protein, calcium, magnesium, and omega-3s. But early signs are just the beginning. The real goal is to lock these gains into a daily rhythm so they don't fade away. In the next section, I'll show you exactly how to make this routine stick. A simple, repeatable plan that keeps sarcopenia from ever sneaking back into your life. The most powerful medicine in the world is useless if you only take it once. The same is true here. Restoring vitamin D, fueling your muscles with protein, and supporting them with calcium, magnesium, and omega-3s only works if it becomes part of your daily rhythm. The secret isn't perfection, it's consistency. Once this routine clicks into place, your body starts working for you every single day instead of against you. The first step is timing. Your muscles operate on windows of opportunity. In the morning, after a night of fasting, your body is primed for nutrients. That's when fast digesting protein paired with vitamin D can flip on muscle synthesis for the whole day. A simple breakfast like fortified Greek yogurt with walnuts or a whey protein smoothie blended with berries doesn't just feed your muscles, it sets the tone for energy and strength hours later. Add a small dose of sunlight during a morning walk and you've created a triple effect: vitamin D production, protein uptake, and improved circulation. The second step is frequency. Older muscles can't store amino acids the way younger muscles can. That means you can't just eat one big protein-heavy meal and expect it to last. Instead, think of every meal and snack as a chance to drip feed your muscles. 20 to 30 grams of protein every 4 hours is far more effective than 60 grams once a day. Pairing each dose with supportive nutrients makes it even more powerful. Cottage cheese before bed, for example, provides slow-release protein throughout the night while selenium and calcium work quietly in the background. The third step is synergy. Nutrition works best when foods amplify each other. Vitamin D with healthy fats, calcium with protein, magnesium with leafy greens, omega-3s with antioxidants. These pairings make every nutrient more effective. It's not about fancy supplements or expensive powders. It's about arranging everyday foods in ways your body can actually use. A lunch of salmon with roasted vegetables and quinoa checks every box. Protein, vitamin D, omega-3s, magnesium, and even inflammation-fighting phytonutrients. That's not a prescription, that's dinner. The fourth step is movement. Protein and vitamin D are like seeds. Movement is the water that helps them grow. You don't need heavy lifting or hours in the gym. Simple resistance exercises, bodyweight squats, band pulls, even standing on your toes repeatedly, can multiply the effects of your nutrition. Studies show that after just 10 minutes of light resistance work, muscles become 50% more receptive to protein. That means your post-exercise snack does twice the work. Walking, gardening, or light yoga also count. The goal isn't intensity, it's consistency. Move every day in any way you can, and you'll keep those nutrients flowing exactly where they're needed. The final step is awareness. Pay attention to the early signs we just covered. Steadier balance, stronger grip, better mornings. They're feedback from your body telling you the system is working. Too often people dismiss small victories because they're expecting miracles, but muscle doesn't rebuild overnight like flipping a switch. It grows steadily, quietly, until one day you realize you're living differently. Build momentum by celebrating these early changes. They're proof that your investment is paying off. When you first start rebuilding muscle, the small victories are enough to keep you going. Steadier steps, stronger grip, less stiffness in the morning. But the true reward isn't just those early changes, it's what happens when you stack those days, weeks, and months into years. That's when the payoff becomes life-changing. The forgotten vitamin has reminded us of one truth: the story of aging isn't finished. And in the next chapter, I'll show you another nutrient that may be quietly changing your future, for better or for worse.